what's up, all you sweaty nerds? It's episode 38 of Collider Heroes. Once again, we're back this week to talk about the amazing superhero and supervillains of cinema and TV. With me, as always, I'm Jon Schnepp. We've got John Campea joining us.
Oh, post Star Wars, getting ready to get. We got such a huge year in 2016 coming with all the comic book movies and everything like that, but also a good time to reflect on what happened in 2015.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got Robert Meyer Burnett with us joining us.
How's it going? Good to be here with the two Johns. Always a fun time. You know, I have to say that, I mean, March, April, and May, you've got Batman v Superman, Captain America Civil War, and X-Men Apocalypse. I mean, has there ever been a sweaty
You forgot Deadpool.
Oh,
February.
That's right. Deadpool's February.
comes
Pardon
first.
me.
Yeah.
That's the low-budget indie.
Be hard R-rated.
I mean, okay, so we've got four great comic book movies to get sweaty about in as many months. Has there ever been a year like 2016?
There is not so far, or is yet to be. So this is 2016 is the one to beat. I don't know if 2017 is going to beat it, but we got a great year coming up. Literally in like 8 days.
And another Star Wars movie.
That's right. It's fantastically crazy, and this year has been amazing as well. But we're gonna later on we're gonna do a special about wrapping up and talking about 2015. But right now we're gonna get into our first topic of the day, and it's Batman v Superman: The International German Spot. So when they revealed this spot, the German spot dropped, cutting out the Doomsday Wonder Woman Superfriends reveal that the other trailer 2 gave us, instead highlighting the conflict and the battle between both Batman and Superman. A few new clips were also added, but with this spot comes the movie's official runtime. 2 hours and 31 minutes is what they've stated the runtime is. And this is, John, you had mentioned it's 8 minutes longer than actually Man of Steel. Let's talk about the runtime. I personally am excited to hear that it's 2 hours and 31 minutes. Robert, what do you think?
You know what? I wish Star Wars The Force Awakens was 2 hours and 31 minutes because that extra time, I could watch these movies forever. Like they could be as long as you want them to be, as long as they're good. I mean, as long as they're, I think there's enough story there that clearly there is, and we're gonna get a 2.5 hour epic. That says epic to me.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, John?
It doesn't necessarily say epic to me. It could be an epic mistake, or it could be epically awesome. Look, here's the thing. Every movie is completely unique. So I had a lot of people when this first came out, and remember, this is only coming from like a German theater chain is saying that this is the runtime. I don't think Warner Brothers has confirmed that this, but let's operate on the assumption that it's true. It's 2 hours and 31 minutes. I had a bunch of people tweeting me saying it's too long. Why are they doing it that long? And my response to that is, it might be too long, but maybe it'll be too short. It really depends. Every movie is unique in the way, in its own cadence, in its own timing, in its own pacing. So we may watch the movie and 2 hours, 31 minutes may very well be the perfect time. Maybe it'll feel like, man, they rushed it and it actually should have been like 10 minutes longer. Or maybe we'll feel like, hey, at 2 hours and 10, I kind of checked out. But it's so hard to say this far in advance. We got to sit down and watch it. But I will say this. When you consider the fact that Man of Steel, which I still think was brilliant, was the length that it was. And now we're adding Batman. We're adding Wonder Woman. We're adding Lex.
A little sprinkling of Aquaman.
A little sprinkling, and then whatever Lex creates, whether that is Doomsday or some other thing. When you consider all that, then to me, 2 hours, 31 minutes on the surface sounds reasonable when you're considering how much they're trying to put in this. Now, we may save the movie and change our mind. Too long, too short, just perfect. We'll see. But on the outset, I got to say, from my perspective, it seems like a reasonable amount of time for this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like even just in all the press that I've read so far about the way they're approaching this film, they're like, look, we established Superman and Man of Steel. Now we've got Batman v Superman, but we're going to establish this universe is Batman. So I feel like weaving in the destruction of Metropolis and Gotham and Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne as Batman, I think that's going to be the first 45 minutes. It feels like it would be a natural story progression to introduce us to this new Batman and why is he on the hunt for Superman and what makes him different from Lex Luthor while you bring in Clark Kent and then you bring in Superman. I feel like the actual battle between these two guys is going to be the middle part of the film, and then everything else that will have been set up so far will then slowly fall into place in the last 40 minutes. That's what I'm hoping. I think 2 hours and 31 minutes in the hands of someone like Zack Snyder is great. I personally loved Watchmen. I know a lot of people didn't like Watchmen or had issues with Watchmen or were angry with the end of the Watchmen because it didn't have the squid, whatever. I think it was an almost perfect comic book adaptation. And when I say that, I mean that you had Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' classic, Watchmen, and then you had someone take that and virtually almost adapt it to the screen, similarly to the way that Robert Rodriguez did Sin City,
yeah.
where it's like you're using these comic book frames and the dialogue, even though Alan Moore didn't want to be credited, most of that dialogue is ripped straight from the comic book, and the panels are ripped straight from Dave Gibbons' composition. So to me, in the costumes and everything, it's the truest comic book adaptation while still feeling like a movie. It didn't feel like I'm like watching a step-by-step book, you know, here's this page, here's that page, but it felt like it flowed together cinematically. And I think that Zack Snyder taking this and the tip of the hat to Dark Knight, Frank Miller's Dark Knight that we've seen so far woven into this new version has me like excited. Granted, I had some issues with the trailer, and it's not that it's like, oh, they revealed, you know, we knew Wonder Woman's going to be in it. It's just the way they did it. It was like semi-anticlimactic for me. Look, I know Wonder Woman's in it. I know they're going to be friends at the end. That's just, we all know that you don't need to force spoon feed us that information. You've already got my money. You know what I mean? It's like, and I know, I feel like trailer 2 was like, I think DC is like a little nervous, and they're like, look, we want to show some of this stuff. Everyone's nervous about this stuff. It's like, no one is nervous except for you. You're nervous. You need to chill out. You need to know that all the Batman and Superman fans cannot wait to see this movie. Chill out with, like, you know, the spoiler kind of ending, or we don't know if it's the ending. We haven't seen the movie, but it's called Batman v Superman. We don't need to see them as chummy friends wondering about who this Wonder Woman is. Bad decision. I can't wait to see the trailer 3 where you reveal Diana, you let her talk, and you then show us some other stuff that we haven't seen. That's what I'd like to see in trailer 3.
I don't.
No? What do you want to see in trailer 3?
I want to see them get back to what the DNA of this movie is supposed to be, which is Batman v Superman. I mean, look, what we're calling trailer 2, which I guess trailer 2 is actually trailer 3, considering there's a trailer before the Comic-Con trailer.
Right.
But the Comic-Con trailer, to me, of Batman v Superman is still the best trailer of the year. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm a Star Wars guy, period. I'm a Star Wars guy. It was better than any Star Wars trailer. It was better than the Captain America Civil War trailer. It was better than the Suicide Squad trailer. It was the best trailer of the year, in my personal opinion. The second trailer, it was terrible. It's a terrible trailer. There are things about it I like. It's not the worst trailer yet. I'm saying in comparison to the brilliance of the Comic-Con trailer, it's terrible. It's an all right trailer compared to everything else. What a lot of people have been saying to me is like, well, you know, John, I heard you and Schnepp complaining that, you know, we haven't heard Wonder Woman talk, but you're already complaining that they're showing too much. We have never complained that they're showing too much. We've complained about what it is they've chosen to show.
Correct.
You know, showing the resolution of Batman v Superman in the trailer is a mistake. That's a mistake.
Right.
Also, so I would like to see them in the next trailer. I do want to hear Wonder Woman talk. Because, like we said this on Movie Talk, we've heard the Butler talk, we've heard the Senator talk, we've heard Lex talk, we've heard Batman talk, we've heard everybody talk. They're not letting us hear Gal Gadot talk,
Right.
which makes me a little bit nervous, so I want to hear her talk. But do that, but keep the spotlight, bring it back to what is selling this movie, what made that first Comic-Con trailer so great, the conflict between Batman and Superman. That's what's going to sell the tickets. So keep the emphasis on that, and then worry about everything else later. That's where I want to see the next one.
You're not arguing with me. I agree with you. I just think that Diana should have, in the very beginning of trailer 3, this is my personal feeling, just get it out of the way. Everyone's questioning it. It's like, look, we all know she can talk. Just show a scene with her as Diana. You don't have to show her as Wonder Woman. Just show a scene with her interacting with Bruce Wayne. Get that out of the way. Make that question mark disappear. And then get, like you said, get back to the basics, to get back to why is it called Batman v Superman. I don't care if it's just them sitting in court. I just want to see that.
Well, you know, I got to say, and I'm happy to hear you say you liked Man of Steel. I loved Man of Steel.
I love Man of Steel.
I think it's the most unfairly maligned superhero movie perhaps ever.
You're preaching to the choir, brother.
Because nobody ever criticizes the film itself. They criticize about what it isn't. Like, Superman's not supposed to kill people and all that. I'm like, did you watch the movie? The movie is a different take on the Superman character, the same way Max Landis' Superman American Alien is a different take, or Superman Red Sun was a different take. It made...
Which, by the way, I picked that up. Thank you for the recommendation. It was great. Yeah.
In the context of the film, I think it works brilliantly as a science fiction first contact story. I love the Krypton stuff. I love Russell Crowe as Jor-El. Michael Shannon as Zod was great, and I loved everything that they did in the film, and it was true to itself. You know, and the fact that, Superman doesn't kill, or, there's so much violence. It was the first movie that showed what a superhero battle would actually look like.
Right, two
gods.
powered
And the
creatures.
fact that Superman has been Superman for like a week. He doesn't know, he doesn't believe yet in truth, justice, and the American way. And I really love the second trailer, which I agree with you. The Comic-Con trailer for Batman v Superman was a great extension of the universe, and that whole take when Martha Kent says, "You don't know this world anything."
Right.
I mean, it's such
a great line.
It's an adult take on the material. It's dealing with ideological. It's dealing with politics. It's dealing with families. It's dealing with how does a man like Bruce Wayne have to deal with a potential extinction event, which is what happened. I mean, Earth was going to be destroyed.
That's right.
Now, if you're Batman and you believe in fighting the good fight, what do you do when confronted by an extinction level threat, which is what Superman is?
And he's an alien, and that's the thing. That's the thing that I like the most about this Batman v Superman. It's a continuation of something. It's the ramifications of the destruction of Metropolis that everybody complained about in Man of Steel. They're actually, it's like in almost a very real world setting. Like that's what caused it. That creature that floats among us. People would be freaking out if this was a real world character. And that's what I like about the choices that they've made in this movie, at least what I've seen so far.
I do too. And I would suggest that everybody should go watch Man of Steel again and look at it as a science fiction first contact story. Look at it as a variation of whether it's Independence Day, whether it's the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries Childhood's End that just ran.
Right.
It is a great science fiction first contact tale about an alien. It's like, look at Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie. Very different movie. You should all watch it. But it's the same kind of thing. And everyone, comic book fans, are like, Superman doesn't kill. Well, really? Where are you going to put Zod? Where would you put him?
Right.
You can't put him in a jail. You can't take him to the moon. What do you do with him?
And Superman has killed. But you know what really gets me? The people who will criticize Man of Steel because of the destruction that happened in Metropolis, which, by the way, was not Superman's fault.
Right.
But those people remind me of, do you guys remember The Incredibles?
Oh, yeah.
Remember right at the beginning of The Incredibles, there was a guy trying to kill himself, and he was about to kill himself, and Mr. Incredible saves him. And then that guy, but he hurts his neck in the process. He was going to die. Mr. Incredible saves him, and his neck gets hurt in the process. And he sues Mr. Incredible for the fact that his neck got hurt. That is the representation of people who complain about the fact that Metropolis got destroyed on Superman's watch.
Let me say one up on that is the people who complain about the destruction of Metropolis are forgetting that Superman saved the rest of the planet.
Yeah.
He saved all the rest of the planet. And by the friendly fire, or however you want to describe it, by fighting another superpowered creature when he's like been Superman less than a week. He was doing the greatest American hero jump around and fall, and then he's finally flying, and they're like, "You're arrested. You're under arrest." Like these guys showed up and we're calling you out, son. He's like, "What? I just got the outfit. Get in jail." I mean, it's literally he didn't even have time to be Superman. He didn't do anything yet, and he has to fight all these different characters. I thought it was a great science fiction film. I'm glad you brought that up. It truly is an amazing science fiction film when you look at it like that. But even looking at it as in the context of a superhero film, I think it's really well done, especially in the time and the age that we live in. It doesn't take anything away from Richard Donner's Superman.
No.
Or
not at
anything
all.
away
No,
from
no.
Superman 2. The
And
Richard Donner cut.
What I don't understand, how can you, if you're a comic book fan, there's so many Elseworlds tales. There's so many different stories of Superman, whether it's Superman and Man for All Seasons, which is a wonderful lyrical tale, or whether you go back and you look at any of the Krypton storyline
Red
that
Sun.
happened.
Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman.
Which is great stuff. And it's like, how can you not look at this? It was done, it was so adult. And it was so interesting. I mean, that scene where Superman has saved the oil derrick and he's underwater and the whale swims by him is one of the most lyrical images in any superhero film to date. And I thought it was a great, great, different take on Superman. And everyone criticizes it for, like, how is he supposed to save anyone when Zod is going to destroy all of Metropolis?
Right.
What are you supposed to do?
The world.
It's choices.
Yeah, the whole
Humanity.
planet. He's
Yeah,
gonna
because remember, he
destroy
said, "I am going to destroy your planet." That's what he said.
I'm going to kill them all.
Yeah, kill them all. So
It's a great science fiction film, and I think a very cool representation of what would happen if to me, it was like the end of Miracle Man 15.
Definitely. And
You know,
you know
one of the
that
great superhero
it was
battles.
a tip. It was a tip of the hat to Miracle Man 13. I mean, it's 15. I'm
Which
sorry.
means a 2 hour and 31 minute runtime is probably appropriate.
Yes. And I think let's move on to topic number 2. Also, if you didn't get a chance, go to YouTube and click on German international spots so you could hear them say, "Und so uns ein Bad
Die
Siederhuten,
Fledermaus, die Gotham.
die Mausen und Gassen zu Kryptonen Gugargenfleifen." I'm like, you got to hear all the different characters
In
speaking in
German.
German. It's so amazing. Sorry, anybody who's from Germany or speaks German, I'm destroying your language, but it's so much. It's hunting einzeln Greifen und Batman gegen Superman of Krypton and Simpin Skypen. All right, we're moving on to Captain America. The second topic is the Civil War, interviews with the Russo brothers. These guys have been dropping bombs left and right, and they keep doing it. We are really excited to see this movie. Speaking of trailers, that incredibly fantastic trailer.
Yep.
The Russo brothers are speaking about how Captain America and Bucky are like brothers in this new movie who are bonded by their past and the only thing left from their past, which is themselves, each other. That's what they've got. They mentioned Cap's going to be actually indeed getting a brand new suit, which Robert Meyer Burnett's going to have to get the hot toy figure of. His traditional chainmail outfit for so nerds like me who are like, that's right, that's what he wears, that chainmail weirdness. And they really in the 80s started to actually draw it that way. I mean, Kirby used to just draw it like, look, I'm not drawing all this metal plating and all this other stuff. But then you had some crazy people like John Campea, like, I am going to draw every single plate. And you're like, wow, that's pretty cool looking. I don't know if you really want to wear that, but I guess, Chris Evans, you got to be wearing this chainmail suit now, and there's going to be figures of it. I hope it just looks cool in the movie. They spoke about a brand new, younger Spider-Man and the way they're kind of weaving him in and how they contemporize his relationship with this younger Aunt May. Let's talk about this, John. What do you think of the Russo brothers' comments?
Well, I mean, what's there to say? I remember there was a few, myself, Christian, and Mark, we were all down at D23 at Disney, and they showed us this kind of just hacked together really loosely footage for Captain America Civil War before anybody else saw it. And it was good, but you could tell it was just hacked together footage. It wasn't a flowing proper trailer, but it was good, and we were excited about it. Jungle Book stole the show, but whatever. The trailer was so much better than the footage. And what they had, and this whole notion about Cap and Bucky being like brothers is because they've already established, this isn't something new. They established that in the very first Captain America, the first Avenger, where we saw their relationship going back not only as far back as it did, but that it even went further back than that. That, as they were childhood friends, then youth, then going off to war together.
Bucky protected him.
Bucky always protected, his whole life he protected him. And then, so this whole notion that really comes to the forefront is that it puts an emphasis on the fact that above everything else, to Captain America, loyalty is that key. Patriotism obviously is another for Captain, but loyalty to the death. It's loyalty to the death. And when you got the fact that Bucky was Winter Soldier, killed a lot of people, maybe Tony Stark's dad, then that serves as a great, we mentioned this earlier today, that serves as almost as a great MacGuffin in many ways for the impetus of what the action is going to be in the film. I love what these guys are saying. I love the trailers we've seen so far. I cannot wait for this movie.
I agree with you. I mean, I love what they said too, but more importantly than that, what I also find interesting is these are both men out of time.
Yes.
They both really lived. They grew up in the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s together, and the fact that the Winter Soldier is a victim. He fell off that train, in Captain America: The First Avenger, and this is a horrible thing for Steve Rogers to have experienced, the death of his best friend, and to have his best friend show up, after being on ice, he's unfrozen to do jobs. He also didn't experience the passage of time that Steve Rogers did. So in addition to being the only two people on the planet Earth that still exists from that time period, they also understand something. Only the two of them understand what it's like to be a man out of time in this day and age. And I'm sure they're going to play up to that. And I think that's really interesting and compelling. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, as far as adding to what they said about Spider-Man, I'm really interested because this is going to be the first look that we have of what the Spider-Man that's coming out in 2017 and how they're going to introduce this newer, younger character. Now, let's remember, every Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film and the Amazing Spider-Man film, Peter Parker was already in high school. It's not like they haven't done this before, but what I think they're spinning and how they're spinning it is this is really going to be a younger set Peter Parker. This isn't going to be like, I'm graduating Peter Parker. This is going to be like, I'm a sophomore in high school, and I've got
Right.
3 more movies that I'm going to be in high school in. I think at least that's the approach I'm hoping they take, because so many of the classic Spider-Man stories all took place while Peter Parker was in high school. And I think it's like that's the difference between that character and his being a superhero, being Spider-Man. That's the difference between him and someone like, say, Doctor Strange or the Fantastic Four or Captain America or Iron Man. They're all completely different characters as who they are in their regular human self before they don whatever outfit they have to don. So
Since you brought it up, they did have a picture of all of the Civil War Hot Toys action figures at that Seoul toy show.
Oh, right.
But there was no Spider-Man hot toy figure shown. So...
Well, here's the interesting thing about the Spider-Man thing, going back to what you're saying. Remember, Tobey Maguire, when the first Spider-Man came out, was 27 years old.
Right.
He was 27. When The Amazing Spider-Man came out in 2012, how old was Andrew Garfield? He was 17. He was also 27, 28 years old. Tom Holland, I got to look it up. I'm not sure how old Tom Holland
I think
is.
he's 17 or something like 17 or 18.
Tom Holland was born in 1996. So he's almost 20. So this is by 7 or 8 years, 6 or 7 to 8 years. This is going to be the youngest Spider-Man that we ever have, and they're going to portray him as such. And I think that's a really interesting approach.
Yeah, and I think that's why I was saying I hope that they're able to keep him in high school for at least the first 3 movies, because then you get that real cool story arc that, you know, if they're going to do a trilogy and then another trilogy, then he's like, you know, I mean, the world is so different now. You don't really have a J. Jonah Jameson with a clackety-clack, you know, typing at the news that everyone's on computers. And, you know, it's like, it's just a different world. Maybe Peter Parker's using his iPhone. That's it's like, I hope that's not how he's taking photos.
Well, I love the idea that if he really is in high school, and what is a high school kid? I mean, maybe he just does Spider-Man for fun. Like, maybe he doesn't feel like, okay, with great power comes great responsibility. I get that, but he also wants to go to the dance, and he also wants to go to a concert. Like, I love Spider-Man to be like, oh, you know, I got to go see One Direction. I can't be
I want to see
Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
tonight.
I got to get laid.
You know, I can't. Well, that too. But if he's a kid, I mean, let's see kid things. Like, if you're a superhero or you're a young kid superhero, you're still going to, like, want to ask a girl out, like you said, get laid. You're still going to want to go see The Force Awakens.
Right.
I mean, Spider-Man wants to see Star Wars. How does that work? Like, if I got opening night tickets to Star Wars, the Rhino's
You know
gone.
who
He's
did that
loose.
great? You know who did that great? This is a tie back to last week's episode of Heroes. Max Landis's Chronicle was a great look
They
of
did it
what
great,
would
yes.
happen if you had these young teenagers in high school. This is what would it really look like if they
Right.
suddenly realized they have powers. And I think the new Spider-Man would probably be wise to borrow a little bit from what they did there.
I agree, because I've always wanted to see that.
He's watching Star Wars upside down as, like, you know, he just creeped in and he's like, that's what, it doesn't bother him to be upside down for 2
No,
hours.
because he'd be a fan of seeing it in laser 3D and the Chinese. He'd want to get good seats.
He would have the best seats. All right, let's go on to number 3. We got our topic here. It's Kristen Ritter for Jessica Jones Season 2 and The Defenders. So Jessica Jones herself, Kristen Ritter, recently spoke positively about her hope to get a second season rolling for her character, saying there's lots of stories left to tell with Jessica, and she would throw on the boots and the leather jacket anytime. Do you think she'll be in Luke Cage or Daredevil Season 2 before she's in The Defenders? John, what do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And even though I'm notorious, I did not like the show Jessica Jones. I think that there was enough in there that's really cool that they could do better. That makes me look forward to a season 2. But yes, I do think they would be kind of silly not to utilize her a little bit. Right. I mean, it all depends, because they had been rolling and shooting Daredevil season 2 for a while.
Right.
Maybe they didn't know how well Jessica Jones, because it's been very well received. So maybe they didn't realize how well received, and maybe they didn't put her in. But I have a feeling you're going to see her pop up in one of those shows. It's probably Daredevil.
How about you?
Well, I love Jessica Jones. I really did, and I loved her in it. I mean, I thought she was incredible. I was so surprised that Marvel Studios would make such an adult. I mean, it's a really dark, a very adult show dealing with very adult matters. I mean, she's a rape victim, a rape survivor, and they don't shy away from that at all. And I feel guilty about how hot I find her. But I'd love to see her come back in anything. I love the character. I mean, I thought she was a badass. And they have the greatest Luke Cage ever.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
he
to
was a
see
great Luke Cage.
Yeah, to see
Great
the two of
Luke
them. I mean,
Cage,
if people don't know, if you read the comics, they have a child together, and they're great together in the Marvel Universe. I love what Brian Bendis was doing and created that relationship. I can't wait to see more of her. She's amazing.
I think Kristen Ritter is an incredible actress. I first saw her in Breaking Bad, and I was like, wow, that's an actress to look forward to. was really happy when she got cast in Jessica Jones. I love the series. I think it's just as good as Daredevil, just different. And so I'm really looking forward to the different tonal spin that they throw into both Luke Cage and Daredevil season 2 and now Iron Fist. So I think every single one of these Netflix series has its own flavor and difference, even though it's all taking place in this, Hell's Kitchen type of environment. So I think she'll probably pop up in Luke Cage. I don't know about Daredevil season 2, and I don't know if she's gonna the character herself, Jessica Jones, will get a season 2. Daredevil's already wrapped, and they got the Punisher, they got Elektra. That sounds incredible. I don't know how Jessica Jones is going to fit into those individual series, but I see her coming more into the Luke Cage series, and then obviously everyone teaming up for the Defenders.
I just can't believe what a great job they are doing with this TV, this sort of, what would you call it, the Max, the Marvel Max.
Marvel Nights.
The Marvel
on
Nights.
the Netflix side,
and they're really doing a tremendous job. I mean, the adult fans, I mean, I don't know if I'd want a 12-year-old to watch these shows, but
No.
man,
Right.
I love them.
But look, and as somebody who this is coming from the guy who didn't like the first season of Jessica Jones, they'd be silly not to do a season 2. They really will, because you just set up way too much stuff that has really rich potential. And opposite of me, there's a lot of people who love the show. You'd just be silly not to do season 2.
I agree. I'd love to see it happen. Guess what I'd also like to see happen? I want to see Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy. So James Gunn, it's rumored. Can we please make this happen? I mean, it's Kurt Russell. He's just rocked it in the Hateful Eight. I got a chance to see it. He's fantastic in that. He was in Bone Tomahawk this year.
Furious 7
had a great little side supporting role in that. Let's not forget the all-time Kurt Russell list I got here. We got Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing. Did I leave any of them out?
My favorite Kurt Russell is Backdraft, actually. That's my
Backdraft?
favorite
Okay.
Kurt Russell performance.
I got to give you some love. Tequila Sunrise.
Wow.
Tequila Sunrise
All
with
right.
Mel Gibson and
Tango and
Michelle
Cash.
Pfeiffer. I could
Right.
watch that movie for that's a good one.
Tango and Cash.
Look, Kurt Russell is a megastar.
Overboard with Goldie Hawn,
I'll say this.
Captain Ron.
He is a great actor. He was amazing in Death Proof. He is one of the actors who was in Death Proof that completely
I didn't like
elevated.
Death Proof, then I thought he was great in Death
That's
Proof.
what I mean.
Yeah,
he
he's awesome.
he could take
Yeah.
any material. I like Death Proof, but he made that
Stuntman Mike.
special, especially when he was like at the very spoilers. If you haven't seen Death Proof, you got to see this movie. I'm not going to ruin it but
Let's
it's
take
a
it back.
great thing.
How about the computer
watch
wore
the last
tennis shoes?
25
Yeah,
minutes.
he was a
Dexter
Disney
Riley
star.
movies.
He was a Disney
Yes, he
star,
was.
and he had a lot of fun. Like, you like that character or whatever character he played in those Disney movies.
He played
had
Elvis
it.
for John Carpenter before
He was amazing
made-
as Elvis.
He was amazing
He's
as
played
Elvis.
Elvis several times because
Yes.
he's great. He does a great Elvis.
And he was in 8,000 Miles to Graceland.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. He's with a bunch of Elvises.
That was actually a fun little film.
That was.
3,000 Miles to Graceland.
Was Courtney Cox the female lead in that? Who was the
don't-
female lead between the two of them? It was Courtney Cox.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, so we're talking about Kurt Russell. Why? Because James Gunn, this is all, we don't know if this is true or not, but this drifting around the internet, so I wanted to bring it up. He's possibly going to be cast as Star-Lord's dad. So for myself, I was looking up some of the Guardians, rich history. They got like 30 years of history. And I'm like, if it's going to be Kurt Russell, he's not going to be blue. He's not going to be yellow. He's going to be an Earthman. And if he's going to be an Earthman, he's going to be from the original Guardians of the Galaxy. He's going to play that astronaut, Vance Astro, who later becomes Major Victory. I don't think they're going to call him Major Victory in the movie, but it makes perfect sense because Peter Quill got stolen with his 80s mixtape, and guess what could have happened like 20 years before that? His dad got involved in this crazy 70s or early 60s style Guardians of the Galaxy, where you can bring in some of those other super weird characters from the original Guardians of the Galaxy. I always forget his name, but the guy is like, I grew up on Saturn, so I'm all squatty and squashed down. I can't remember what that character's
And that's
name
right
is.
up James Gunn's alley.
Certainly
He
is.
comes from Tromeo and Juliet.
Yes.
He wrote the specials that I had something to do with, and that is he went back to those original
Slither,
films.
baby. Let's bring that one.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
forget
I
that.
freaking love
Slither's so much fun.
So much
Slither
fun.
Talk
is
about
so
practical effects, right? And somebody who knows how to use them and develop
with
them.
a nice little blend of
direct them.
CG as well.
It's so good.
And Nathan Fillion,
Michael Rooker.
Elizabeth Banks. If you haven't seen Slither, see Slither. And by the way, and also look up his online. He had this little online series. I can't remember how many episodes he did, but it's called PG Porn.
Right.
He's got Nathan Fillion is in one or two. of them
Very
as well.
funny.
Look it up. It's great. See, I don't know about that because let's not forget too that in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, they established his father's not human, at least not totally human. Because remember, they said in your DNA, you've got like something ancient that we haven't seen in a long time. And the mom described him as appearing like an agent. So I don't think he can be a human character that just went off to space and had adventure. He's got to be something else. He's got to be at least a mixture of something else. So I have no idea what he would be. Look, since I don't know what James Gunn has in mind for Star-Lord's father, it's hard for me to say who then should be cast to play it when I don't really know what the character's supposed to be yet. But come on, tell me we're not all just peeing a little bit to find out that Kurt Russell's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I had to change my pants.
I mean, that would just be awesome. I would love that.
Well, everyone loves Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell's one of those actors that he can do no wrong. You just love him. Mm-hmm. And to put him in that movie just elevates what was great in the first place to another level. To another level of sweatiness.
Well, what do you think? I mean, that's what I cannot wait to see Pratt and him in a scene together. That's chemistry that's just like screaming right there.
I just had the weirdest vision in my head. I don't know why, and I'm finding it hilarious, at least in my head. Remember we were just talking about how Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were both like 27, 20-year-old playing high school Spider-Man. I want to see Kurt Russell play a high school Spider-Man. just do one scene and make everybody just pass off like, yeah, that's a high school student. I think that would look amazing.
I mean, it could be like an Indiana Jones and Last Crusade thing, though, between Kurt Russell and Chris Pratt, which would...
Yeah, I'm going to still stick with my theory is that he's Vance Astro, but what I'm going to add to it is because they're saying he's partially alien is that Vance Astro's parents are a mixture, and he's got some of that weird flavor, and that means Peter Quill also has some of that weird whatever alien fiber DNA floating through him. So I'm just
saying it doesn't come from his father; it comes from his grandfather.
Yes, I'm saying I'm going to say they're going to flavor it up that way, but we'll find out in like a year and a half when that movie comes out. We got a little bit of a wait, but we got a lot of other cool things to watch before that. We're going to move on into somewhat I like to call minor mutations, where every week we bust out and talk about some like news of the week, and we're going to pick a couple topics we want to talk about. Number one, we got Legends of Tomorrow. They had a brand new TV spot, this time highlighting the villain of the series, Vandal Savage. Number two, we got Deadpool. He's continuing his 12 days of Christmas gifts with weird emojis, his own script notes that Deadpool wrote on his own script, and bizarre emails. Number three, we've got Bizarro is coming to Supergirl in the final part of season 1 of Supergirl. I can barely contain my excitement. Bizarro. Come on. I hope it is. I really do hope it is a Supergirl Bizarro. We got Chris Pine saying Wonder Woman will be effing blast. That's what he's saying. He can't wait for everyone to experience the fun of Wonder Woman. That's the fun that he's having. Tom Hardy hated losing his role for Suicide Squad. He mentioned that recently. And finally, we've got Ben Affleck talking about the new flexibility of the Batsuit. And let me explain a little bit. What he was talking about is like the suit that he wore for the armored suit. A lot of that is actually CG, like the hands and stuff are CG, which allowed him to actually be able to do a lot of full movements that if you were actually wearing a real like armored Batsuit could be a little tough to move around. And so what strikes you, Robert?
I have to say, Legends of Tomorrow, I'm a DC fanboy. I love Marvel as well, but I grew up a DC fanboy. I can't believe Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Vandal Savage in a TV series. I can't believe it. Yeah. I'm like, what an embarrassment of riches. I mean, God knows, Rip Hunter. Yep. It's so crazy.
Firestorm.
I can't believe
Adam.
It's the craziest. If they bring Fire and Ice in, from Justice League.
Oh, they will.
The Kevin Maguire
they better.
Run, Guy Gardner, I just can't believe what we're getting these days. Kids today, they don't know how lucky they have it. They really don't. I'm really excited.
I am very excited to see that. I vow to myself, not to anybody who's watching this, but to myself to finish watching all of Flash. I can't really say Arrow, but I'm definitely going to watch all of Flash before Legends of Tomorrow premieres.
The only thing I hope they don't do is I don't want to see Brother Blood in any DC show except a Teen Titans movie.
They've already had him.
In a show?
Yeah, they've already had him in Arrow.
Really?
Yeah.
The disappointment on Robert's face is real.
The real Brother Blood with Mother Mayhem?
Well, no, I mean, they changed stuff.
Yeah,
it wasn't the Brother Blood you're thinking of with the cool skull face.
The greatest costume ever.
But he had the man.
Did he?
Yeah.
He had the skull mask? Wow. All right, I might watch Arrow now. What?
I'm never going to watch
I can't believe John Campea is making me want to watch Arrow. John, what sticks out to you in this news?
Well, I have not been looking forward to Legends of Tomorrow. It seems rather than a best of, it seems like the leftovers and throw them in to make their own show. And then the mid-season finales of Flash and Arrow happened, and it was basically the setup for Legends of Tomorrow. It was a crossover event.
Right.
So part 1 was in Flash, part 2 was in Arrow, and they introduced us to Vandal Savage. I gotta tell you, I really dig the dude who plays Vandal Savage.
Nice.
I really dig him. I was bought into him. He reminded me a lot of Agent Smith. But different at the same time. I found him menacing and creepy. They did some really cool stuff. I'm still not excited for the show, but I got to admit, seeing the crossover episodes drew me a little bit more in. As far as Chris Pine saying that Wonder Woman will be effing a blast, really? A Hollywood actor is saying his next movie is going to be good? Really? Like Daisy, people were asking me, why didn't you make Daisy Ridley saying that she read the episode 8 script and she loved it as a story on Movie Talk?
I know.
Because what else is she supposed to say? Well, yeah, of course. So that's a really non-story. That doesn't mean it's not going to be great. The Tom Hardy thing is interesting because I remember when he left, a lot of us, and I still believe there's probably something in here to do with Will Smith. I think Will Smith, whenever he's on a movie, and I love watching Will Smith in movies, but his word now is, if you listen to guys like Quentin Tarantino or others, the word right now is that when Will Smith is on a movie, he wants the movie to be about Will Smith. And I believe he came on after Tom Hardy was there. And then after Will Smith came on, suddenly Tom Hardy left. Now, Tom Hardy says, no, it was a schedule because of this movie and this movie. And there's no reason not to believe him.
Right.
I hope that when we see the movie, it's not completely Will Smith centric, even though I love Will Smith. But so we'll see. But it's interesting comments from him.
Yeah, bringing up the Tom Hardy thing, I think, it definitely rings true to me. I don't think it had to do with Will Smith. I think that Will Smith adding himself, letting himself become available to be in Suicide Squad was him saying, I'm going to be a team player.
See, that's what I'm hoping it
That's
is.
what
That's
I feel,
really what I'm
because
hoping
he had
it is.
a bunch of flops in a row, After Earth and all these other films. He's a great actor. He's a really fun actor, and I like him. But I think that he's like, look, I want to be in one of these superhero films. He's already been in a super film. What was that? Hancock. He's already done a bunch of that.
Love Hancock.
And Hancock was
aside
fun.
from
A lot
the
of fun.
final 20 minutes or
Right.
so, I think
Hancock
I wish
was
Hancock was. They made a sequel to that.
I agree too. I thought it was a really good, really fun, original superhero film. So I think it's not going to be Big Willie and the rest of the supervillains. It's going to be a team movie. And he's like, I want to be part of this cool thing that's happening in these superhero films. How do I fit in? Well, you can be this character. Bam. I think Tom Hardy honestly, it was a scheduling thing. And he's like, look, I want to be in The Revenant. And now that I've seen The Revenant, I wish he was in Suicide Squad because I feel like, man, what actor took over his role? Do you remember?
Oh, was it Jai Courtney or was Jai Courtney already in there?
God.
I think it was
really?
Jai Courtney.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I could be mistaken about that, but I think it was Courtney who filled in.
So I'm with you guys. I really like Will Smith. I thought I Am Legend, he was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
When he's on screen by himself most of the
carried that
time.
movie.
He really did.
Yeah, those first 30 minutes, him and the dog. I was like,
so
I
good
watched
until
2 hours of
The
that.
dumb CG.
Yes.
When they decided not to go practical, that was a huge mistake that ruined that film. But I am kind of upset that he's not in Independence Day Resurgence because that is one of my most eagerly awaited films of 2016. I love Independence Day. Why isn't he in it?
You mean ID Forever?
But if you look at
They
the
changed
website,
that.
I know.
They
If
changed
if you
that.
look at the website, they say his character died testing out fighter craft with alien technology. I'm like, that's
That's a punk out
it.
way to go, right?
That's it. His character dies on a website.
Yeah, well, his son is there to carry on the fight in
Not
this
the same,
brand
man.
new
Vivica
sequel.
Fox comes back.
Well, they wanted him back.
I know.
They offered him.
Big Willie's style is not an ID Resurgence and ID4 Resurgence. I'm upset.
Well,
I'll get over it
yeah.
once the movie starts.
I'm going to get over it. I'll see if
Dave
Independence
Pullman's
Day.
there. That's enough.
Yeah.
Dave Pullman, Jeff
It's
Goldblum's
true.
there.
Jeff Goldblum's there. He's got a new floppy to, create viruses for the new.
And Judd Hirsch.
And Judd
Don't
Hirsch.
forget,
Who
they
has
brought
not
Judd
aged
Hirsch.
a day, by the way.
Right.
Since that have you
Right.
seen that trailer? That
Yeah.
dude has not aged a day.
He's drinking whatever Brother Blood's drinking.
Oh, jeez.
All right, let's move on to something we like to call Flashback, where we talk about a movie that has come out and that you guys probably should see if you haven't seen it already. This week we are covering Batman. Batman. 1966, the first feature-length Batman movie happened way back in 1966, hit in theaters right after the final episode of the first television season finished airing. America was hit with Batmania. It starred Adam West as Bruce Wayne Batman and Burt Ward as Robin. We had the Rogues Gallery represented by Cesar Romero as the Joker, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, Frank Gorshin as the Riddler, and Lee Merriweather as the Catwoman on screen, which was played by Julie Newmar and Eartha Kitt on the television series. This pop comedy styled film was written by Lorenzo Semple Jr., you might know him as from Flash Gordon 1980, and directed by Leslie Martinson, who just turned 100 years old this year. This was the way the modern world looked at comic books back then, and superheroes in general as comedic fluff entertainment, and what fluff it was. I loved Batman. I saw the series when I was a little kid, and this version of Batman was really entertaining. It was action-packed with wild, colorful characters. Every episode there was like a cliffhanger. I had a crush on Yvonne Craig as Batgirl. Every time she showed up, I was like, couldn't wait to see the episode. So this was before the comic books got all grim and gritty. This was before the 70s got a little more, superheroes got a little more serious, and then bringing in the 80s, we got Batman, we got Frank Miller, we got Alan Moore, we got a whole bunch of writers flipping the whole script on superheroes, and for all of us who are already reading superhero films or comic books, we had Chris Claremont, we had Walt Simonson, we had John Byrne, Frank Miller, Alan Moore. The list is endless. Howard Chaykin. I'm just listing off a very few of these comic book guys who basically revolutionized comic books in the 80s, and then all those people who grew up from that turned into the ones who did turn into Hollywood executives and entertainment people are like taking those and like making what we have now, which is the superhero renaissance of film and television. Batman 1966. Let's start off with you, John. Your memories of this, and what do you think of it?
Whenever I think about this movie, the very first thing, because I'm like a little kid watching it on TV, the very first thing that I always remember, and I believe it was from the movie, was Adam West, I believe, hanging from a rope from the Batcopter over the ocean. And he's got a great white shark biting on his leg, and he's just trying to shake him off. Like, he's just trying to shake off a great white shark that's biting on his leg. Yes. I mean, and then, of course, he reached for this belt, close up, bat shark repellent. Of course, Batman carries around bat shark repellent. Of course he does. And I even remember as a kid thinking, in terms of politics, there was this. You can tell it's low budget because it's supposed to be the main UN room where all the world leaders are sitting. And it's this tiny little 12x8 office of these guys sitting on these cheap little chairs, but they're all wearing different outfits. One guy's wearing a turban, one guy's wearing dressed like a Russian dude. Mm-hmm. And they're arguing and they all get powdered. And then when they get reconstituted, they're all just still arguing. It's like, they're making political commentary even back then. It is so ridiculous, but so wonderful to watch. If you have not seen this 1966 version, you got to watch it. It's a joy. It's a total joy to watch.
This is the Biff Bang Pow Batman. This is like, you might have seen Batman and Robin, the George Clooney thing. What they were trying to do was this. This is the original this. This is the one that you should be seeing with the corniness and the penguin, like submarine that looks like a penguin.
And uses flippers. I mean, it's awful. It's awful, but a joy to watch.
Before we get to you, I wanted to mention, you brought up the UN. I remember as a little kid, I saw it as a little kid on television. I was very distressed about all the powders because they turned them all into powder. Like, I know, but how are they going to reconstitute them? Will the powder all create a monster? I just remember, like, will it just be a giant weird UN
that's
human being?
That's Clayface's origins right there.
Robert, what are your thoughts on Batman?
I love this movie so much. You know what I remember thinking about? This is the first movie I remember a piece of music from. I remember when I must have been 4 or 5 when I heard it, but there's a piece of music and I'll hum it. I don't know if it's like this, but it was like da na 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 na, and it's when the bat boat is driving through the ocean. And another thing I loved about this movie was the practical bat boat, of course, the Batmobile, which is from the series, beautiful, and the Batcopter. Yep. And they made corgis.
I had all those corgis.
Yeah. The corgis were the greatest. That Batmobile, the first corgi one that actually shot the missiles out of the back, and they had the knife that came down the front, the blade. Greatest childhood toy ever.
I'm sorry, what the guy who designed the Batmobile, his name?
Chuck Barris.
Yes, he just passed away.
That car, to this day, why did not Hot Toys, they were going to produce the 66 Batman in 1/6 scale. They didn't. But the those vehicles and the Batcave, beautiful. I mean, those set designs, you as a kid wanted to be in that movie. I remember wanting to be with those guys. I wanted to meet Batman and Robin. I wanted to get into that Batcave.
Yeah.
Oh, and the coolest submarine since Skydiver from UFO.
That's right. If you guys have not given yourself a chance to see Batman, the 1966 version, do yourself a favor. And if you love that, there's an entire 3 seasons of the Batman TV show that they made.
On Blu-ray, and the Blu-rays are absolutely stunning.
Stunning.
And how great, the first real supervillain team-up.
That's
was
true,
so
with
satisfying.
Green Hornet.
Yep.
I mean, it was so satisfying to see those 4 characters together. You're like, we're in trouble.
Yep, Bruce Lee back then. So let's move on. We got this week's Spotlight. And in this week's Spotlight, we are covering Invincible. This week's Spotlight's on a superhero written by The Walking Dead's own Robert Kirkman and artist Cory Walker. And the title is Invincible. It's about a high school kid who develops superhuman powers, finds out his dad is actually a superpowered alien sent to scout the Earth and prep it for a hostile takeover. He ultimately has to battle his dad, which is a savage fight, all the while falling in love and befriending all types of superpowered aliens and various superheroes and villains. Now, would this comic make a good television show or movie? Let's start with you, Robert. What do you think?
No, I really love this comic. I've got the absolute version of it, Image's version of the absolute edition.
This is published by Image Comics.
Image Comics. But what I think it's a little too out there to be. I mean, they'd have to really scale the comic back, and that would kind of take some of the charm out of it. I mean, it's hard hitting. It's not goofy.
Right.
They did a really great job with it, but there's too many wacky people in it. The tone of it would be really. You'd have to have a deft touch, and I don't know if there's anybody that could quite do it right. But I'd watch it if somebody did make it. I mean, I think it'd be a better TV series. There's certainly a lot of information in there.
Yes.
And why not? I mean, with Kirkman's success with Walking Dead, I'm actually surprised there isn't an Invincible TV series.
How about you, John?
I think it's easily adapted. I really do. I think you're absolutely right. I think those problems are real problems that you would face if you're trying to do a translation. But I think they're ones you can change in the translation and make it adapt really well. And to me, it's cut and dry. It's a movie. It's absolutely. I don't think this lends itself well to long form storytelling. I think this would make a great 2.5-hour movie done right if adapted the right way, like you're saying. I'd be in line for it.
I could see it both ways. I could see it adapted as a film. It would have to really cater to him and his dad's relationship, him developing those superpowers, his dad, who's a novel writer, all of a sudden revealing himself to be like, dude, you don't know who I am, and then them actually becoming enemies, and then it going all the way to the end where he has to fight his dad to stop this super armada invasion, obviously lending yourself to multiple movies. If it went TV route, I would definitely see it having a little bit more of a tongue-in-cheek approach. And also that way you can add all the crazy characters. They have like Doom Patrol riffs. They have so many little tip of the hat nods to so many different genres. And Robert Kirkman, obviously a gigantic comic book nerd, obviously did The Walking Dead, but this man's heart is bubbling with comic book stuff. That's why I would see, like, I would love to see someone like, I would even say Alan Ball, or I would say the guy who's doing
that's really interesting. Like the Banshee version.
Yes.
Or it's kind of also, if you wanted to do it, it's Men in Black meets The Greatest American Hero, but that's a little too goofy.
No. But I think
you're
on a
onto
television scale, I think it would work by having those tropes, by having that. It's got a rechargeability factor where at the end of season 1, you reveal the dad, but you have all these other things of him developing these powers while he's in high school. I think it could work either way. If you haven't checked out Invincible, do yourself a favor. You can buy it on Amazon or go to your local comic book store and pick up either the absolute version or get a couple of trade paperbacks and check this out. It's amazingly well written and drawn.
I love the absolute version because the art is really vibrant. I really like the artwork. Of the comic.
It's really great. Cory Walker, and then another guy took over after him. But
good stuff.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to turn over to the Twitter questions that you guys wrote in this week. Let's start off with Tony asks, do you believe that any Warner Brothers producers could say Batman v Superman? Oh, sorry. Do you believe any? That's just messed up. I don't even know how to read that. Do you believe any? I think Warner Brothers producer said comments on Batman v Superman that the recent trailer didn't reveal the end.
Well, no. What he's talking about, there was it wasn't an executive of Warner Brothers.
Right.
There's I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been an effects guy or somebody. Basically, came out and said, what you saw in the movie, what you saw in that trailer, what we are calling trailer 2, it really is trailer 3.
Right.
The most recent trailer. That's not the end of the movie. That happens earlier in the film. It's not the end of the movie, and that's fine. I believe it. It only heightens the mistake that they showed us what they showed us.
Right.
If it is earlier. So a lot of people have been writing me, hey, did you hear that that's not the end of the movie? See? It's like, that doesn't correct the mistake. That actually makes the mistake worse.
Right. You know what?
To me, if that's the case.
Honestly, now I remember why I picked that Twitter question. It wasn't because it's hard to read, which it is, but it addresses a thing like that. that quote that people are using is a made up article written by Cosmic Book News or one of the. It's like I'm pretty sure it's Cosmic Book News. They faked that article.
Oh, there you go.
And it's like, and they, eventually it was written like, oh, this isn't even real. It was like a fake interview with Patrick Tatopoulos talking about like all these different things. Like that could be almost spoilers. Like, nah, that's not the end of the movie. And there's this other threat that's revealed and this and that. And I remember reading on another website and they were saying, update, this has all been a lie. The website itself, excuse me if I'm getting it wrong, whichever website it was, made up the entire thing. So,
well, it's interesting to me. One of the great superhero trailers of all time was the long trailer for Tim Burton's Batman. I remember when it came out. It was not cut to be action packed. It was all these kind of weird baroque. It was put together in a very baroque way with these character moments where it just suddenly cut to Jerry Hall and Jack Nicholson. She says, "You look good," and I didn't ask. Yeah. And then you see like the bat plane crash. And
you know who cut that? John Peters. John Peters sat with the editor and they cut that in one night because they were like, we need something. That's why it has no music. They cut it together and they put it out and it exploded.
That trailer was so great because you knew nothing. That trailer and the original trailer for Alien are some of the best trailers ever made. They don't tell you a thing about the plot of the movie. They just give you a sense of feeling and they make you really want to see the movie. And that trailer art has been lost.
Well, they brought it back almost verbatim for Prometheus. Remember, they were echoing that first
That was
teaser
a great trailer.
That
was a great trailer.
Really
and with the same music.
Yes.
The same kind of...
With the screamy siren thing. Still gives me chills with that, that... So anybody who wants to cut a good trailer, just rip off the original Alien one and use that as your basic, beats, and you will have an amazing trailer. Let's move on. Caleb Lalonde asks, do you think Image Comics is the best publisher working today? Well, I've got to say, myself personally, I feel like Image Comics is the best publisher if you want to actually make creative decisions and original content. I brought up Invincible. That was published by Image. Image is a creative publishing house that was formed by Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Silvestri, a whole bunch of these independent artists who were working for both DC and Marvel. They formed this union of like 7 different artists, Eric Larson, a whole bunch of different guys. And it was so that they could make their own characters. They were working for Marvel and DC, and they were like, look, we want to own our own characters. They started it that way. They kind of flooded the market, which made other companies aggressively flood the market. And it led to almost destroying the comic book franchise in comic book stores everywhere. I'm not blaming Image. I'm just saying, this started this entire thing that, like, in the early 90s, chromium variant covers with rainbow things and all this other stuff. And it kind of went away. But what ended up happening is Image kind of opened their doors and said, look, we'll take, if you have a cool comic, let us take a look at it. We'll publish it for you. You can then get all the money back once we've, got the publishing back for it. So the way that Image runs their comic book company is incredible. And that's why you get so many amazing original comic books, the most original creative comic books, I personally think, that are coming out of any company right now.
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to Boom Studios, because Boom Studio was founded by a guy named Ross Ritchie, who I actually knew a little bit before he founded the company. And there was no one who loved comic books more than Ross Ritchie, and he loved comic book creators. And I think Boom Studios has been doing an incredible job as well. Not that Image hasn't, but it'd be like if somebody allowed me to run a Star Trek TV series. Ross Ritchie was the guy who loved comic books more than anyone. I don't know what their business practices are like, but I really like a lot of the books coming out of Boom.
Yeah, Boom is definitely, they've broken their stuff up into 4 different quadrants where they have the comic books for kids, then they have like more adult, but like books that come out in Barnes and Noble where it's less comic books and more graphic novels, and they've got like a science fiction area. It's like they did Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, this amazing adaptation of Philip K. Dick's book, completely well illustrated. Now it's out in its own form. So Boom Studios definitely on the same level as Image. I just think Image has got more. They have more as far as, especially for superhero and that kind of genre. They just they've taken so many different chances with science fiction and fantasy and horror. I mean, all the independents, definitely Image and Boom, I'm really happy to see that they're filling in the cracks that Marvel and DC are not doing. Because Marvel and DC are like definitely still perpetuating their base core groups. They got Batman, they got Superman, they got Captain America, Spiderman, Avengers. So they have those comics and the variations within those families of comic books. So you have Batman, Detective Comics, you have Robin, you have like, here's all the Batman comics we're publishing. Here's all the, so that's what DC and Marvel have kind of turned into, and less so about like, here's this brand new property, let's break this. They're not breaking anything. They're redoing stuff.
And also, there's also IDW and Dark Horse. I'm a big Dark Horse fan, and I do miss First Comics. Remember First Comics?
Oh yeah, Nexus, amazing,
so good. American Flag.
John, what do you think? Image Comics?
Well, Image Comics is great. My friend Rodney is the one who got me turned on to Image Comics. Dark Horse kind of right now is my favorite. That's the one. I mean, because I don't have a lot of time today. I mean, it's not like when I was in my 20s. I don't have a lot of time today to read a lot of comics. Most of the comics I read today are the ones that you pass off to me.
Sure.
Which is good. But the ones I do read are usually fall under Dark Horse.
Right on. All right, great question. Let's move on. We got Dash Crowley asks, do you think we'll ever see a film version of Transmetropolitan on the big screen or TV? Robert, what do you think?
I'd love to, because I was on a show with you a couple weeks back and you talked about Transmetropolitan and we talked about it, that there's an absolute edition and I just got it. And I just started rereading the whole series. What an incredible series. I mean, Spider Jerusalem is such a great character.
Oh my God.
I mean, it would be a very expensive TV series, but I would love to see it. And you know what? In this day and age, people are going to stop looking at superhero properties because I think there's a superhero glut on TV, and they're going to start to go the Ghost World route or the Road to Perdition route and look at comic book material that isn't traditionally superheroic. And Spider Jerusalem is basically Hunter S. Thompson in this gonzo, weird dystopian future, and I think it'd be a great TV show.
Yeah,
I don't.
No?
I don't. This is another one of those things where a friend of mine got me to read it. And it's like, okay, the cyberpunk angle is kind of cool. I narrative-wise, I just didn't find it compelling. But my buddy who passed it on to me loves it. Like, loves it. You obviously like it a lot, too.
Yeah, I think I would love to see it as a television series and not a movie, because I think when you take a look at all of the issues and how you can transfer that into a television series and how you'd make it work, is it would be a procedural.
Right, absolutely.
It would just be, that's how you would make that character Spider Jerusalem work in that kind of it's an all over crazy world with like mutant alien hybrids, and it's just a really fun world that exists. I think any television producer who wants to grasp onto something that's unique and different that would work, check out Transmetropolitan. Let's go to the next question. We got Alex Short asking, which X-Men spinoff team did you like the best? I'm going to say New Mutants. And I'm going to say the New Mutants that Bill Sienkiewicz was rocking, because that's when I got turned on to New Mutants. I missed the first earlier issues of Bob McCloud, but the ones that really attracted me, in fact, I can remember the first issue, which was this painted bear cover, the
Demon Bear storyline.
And I just opened it and I was like, what is this? It blew my mind, because Bill Sienkiewicz was taking so many chances with the way he was drawing the New Mutants. He'd already done Moon Knight, and he was like, look, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to explore and get a little crazy, and his crazy was awesome. So the New Mutants for me. How about you, John?
Excalibur, especially when they were being led. The storylines they had when they were being led by Nightcrawler was particularly really good. So that would be mine.
Definitely. Excalibur's fun.
Okay, I'm gonna say the first 24 issues of Alpha Flight.
Oh yeah,
the first 24 issues.
I was thinking about saying Alpha Flight, but I didn't know if really they're not really an X-Men.
Well,
they
no,
are.
They are.
They started in X-Men 109 with Vindicator.
But that's where they indicate, but they were their own thing before.
No, they were not. 121 and 122 of X-Men was the introduction of Alpha Flight.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, but they were already a team at that point.
No, that's the first time you ever saw them ever.
Right. And
that's the first time we saw them.
No,
yes.
but I'm saying that's the origin of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
those first 24 issues with the whole Vindicator storyline and the whole I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
It gets rough in issue 12, yo.
Oh, I loved it so much. It got a little goofy when they wouldn't admit North Star was gay and he turned out to literally be like a fairy. I'm like, really? Right. Really, guys? That was one of the biggest Marvel missteps.
But that didn't happen in the John Byrne run.
They just had him get married recently. Like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Was that when they actually had the big wedding?
It was the early 80s.
Yeah.
I get it. But those first, John Byrne was rocking it. The first 24 issues of Alpha Flight are among my favorite 24 issues of superhero comics ever.
I would want to. I'm not going to change New Mutants, but I'll add as a tag team right along that line is Alpha Flight. I brought up many episodes ago. I think Alpha Flight is that X-Men property why has that not been adapted yet? It is fantastic.
Because it's about Canadians.
Well, look,
I'm just kidding.
if we just got rid of that one part of that, one angle of it being Canadian.
Remember when Peter Dinklage was announced for X-Men Days of Future Past, everybody just assumed he was going to play Puck.
Right.
Remember that? Everybody just assumed he was going to play Puck.
Everything is shot in Canada. Why not actually make Alpha Flight in Canada? It makes no sense.
Well, how great would that be? There's a great show.
Yes.
I mean, if they're going to do a second series of Marvel shows for Netflix, Alpha Flight
Alpha Flight would be amazing. I don't know if it's tied up with Fox because it's mutants or whatnot, but that's such a great series.
Who knows?
Definitely check out what he's talking about. Issues 1 through 24. It's basically, or 27, I believe, is John Byrne's run.
John Byrne's run.
They broke it up into 3 graphic novels that you can get. Check it out. They're really hard to get, but it's worth it. It's funny you mentioned that because I just picked up the second trade paperback that I was missing. I have all the issues, but I got 1 and 3, and I was missing that second one, and reread all those with Talisman and Shaman, and it gets really
Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's really lots of fun.
Good.
Nerding out on Alpha Flight, guys. Check it out. All right, next question we got is from Vape Solo. Asks, could Batman Forever have been a better movie if Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face was just the Joker?
No, would have made a difference.
Yeah.
The movie still would have been bad. I mean, you just would have had the actor saying he's a different character. I mean, yeah, he acted more like a Cesar Romero Joker than he did like any Harvey Two-Face we've ever seen.
Right.
But it still would have been just as cheesy, just as bad, same bad dialogue, same bad everything. It would have succeeded where it succeeded already and would have failed where it failed already. So, I mean, really, it was the Cesar Romero Joker that they were doing, and it didn't work, and I don't think it would have made it any better if they just said he was the Joker.
Right.
I agree. I mean, tonally, that movie, the 2 Schumacher films are so wildly divergent tonally from the Burton movies.
Right.
You don't want to see them. You literally, I watched those movies. I tried to watch Batman and Robin again after we talked about it. Intellectually, I can't do it.
It hurts your brain.
I'm Poe Dameron, and Kylo Ren is force into my face. Whatever he's doing there, it's like that.
Well, I took this question and I was like, you know what? It's not if Tommy Lee Jones was just the Joker. It's the casting of Tommy Lee Jones. He was obviously upset that Jim Carrey was taking the spotlight. He was overacting. I don't think he was ever in the movie seriously enough to understand who Harvey Dent or Two-Face really were. He was just like, I'm gonna act crazy and talk like that.
And that goes on the director for not reeling that in.
Well, it goes on the
mean?
director for the second with the Joel Schumacher Batman and Robin. He's come out and said, like, look, man, I am sorry. I didn't know what I was doing with Batman and Robin, but it started with Batman Forever with the neon, all this stuff. But I have to say, I think that was not just him, but it was a tonal shift in the people who were like making the Batman films. They wanted to sell toys and were like, look, people are too freaked out by the Penguin and Catwoman in that Batman Returns movie. We want to go a different route. We want to bring it back to a little bit of the Batman Adam West thing, but I don't think they even understood what they were doing.
No, they didn't.
They
It
didn't.
really feels like they thought they were doing something, but they went another way and really, I can't even say what I was
What
going
made
to say.
it even more awkward is that they tried to keep a Michael Keaton style Batman with Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer was very much, I felt, very faithful to the Batman that Michael Keaton established in the other ones, but then they changed everything else around it, which made his Batman feel out of place, and so it just went the wrong
That's a
direction.
really good observation.
I think so too. But Nicole Kidman was, I like
Chase Meridian. I still remember that name. It was like,
she was good.
Oh, she was sultry in that.
Nicole
She was sultry
Kidman
in that.
really does no wrong. Let's go on to the sweaty question of the week, guys. Michael Sanders asks, would you like to see a Batgirl TV series and at some point crossover and duel against Supergirl? Now, myself, having just admitted my love of Yvonne Craig from the original Batgirl from the Batman series, I'd love to see Batgirl. I would love to see them do the Birds of Prey, do a brand new version of Birds of Prey, bring in Batgirl, bring in the Huntress. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if they did do a Batgirl TV series, then hell yeah, there should definitely be a team up with Supergirl. But I'd love to see a Batgirl series. How about you?
Nope.
No?
I don't want to see Bat anything on TV. Keep the Bat stuff in the movies with its bigger budgets and its higher profile people. Keep it there. I don't want to see the Bat family on TV.
Even with Gotham?
Even with Gotham, some people might say especially because of Gotham. Even though I think Gotham Season 2 is much, much better than Gotham Season 1. I no longer hate the show. But Gotham is not bat anything.
Okay.
I mean, Gotham, you haven't seen it yet, have you?
No, I've refused to see it.
Gotham is nothing to do, as much as they want you to think Batman when you see it, see the advertising, has nothing to do with Batman. It's just a very, very separate
Even
thing.
though all the characters are from
Even though they're
Batman,
all
it just
there,
makes no sense.
You got
to
a
me.
young Bruce Wayne. Trust me, there's no Batman.
Oh, man.
Well, you know what? I would, and I'd like to see it go one of two ways. I'd like to see a Batgirl Jessica Jones-esque series that is that realistic, that's that hard-hitting, or go the Supergirl route and make the Batgirl fit the Supergirl universe, Supergirl continuity.
I think
more along lines.
The latter, for me, I think that's the way to go because Supergirl is really fun. It's really refreshing. It's different than, the
name
darker Flash.
Batgirl is inherently kind of fun.
Right.
You kind of, and look, as much as I love Yvonne Craig, and she's actually in a classic Star Trek episode, the Arkham Asylum episode of classic Star Trek, Whom Gods Destroy, which is tied into this thing I'm working on now. But the idea of Batgirl is kind of every 12-year-old's fantasy, isn't it? We all wanted Yvonne Craig.
That's right.
We still
Yeah,
want
so
Yvonne
I don't have any
Craig.
problems with Batgirl. That's it for us. Episode 38 of Collider Heroes. We rocked it this year. Thank you all for joining us and watching us this year. We'll be back next year. We've got a very special episode next week, so tune in for Collider Heroes next week. And then we'll be talking about 2016. We're moving into the future. I want to thank our guests, as always, John Campea. Where can we find you online?
Hey, guys, you can find me on Facebook and on Twitter simply at Jon Campea.
Robert Meyer Burnett, thank you for being here. You're awesome.
I have to say, you guys, part of the highlight of my year this year, 2015, is on being on the show.
Awesome.
I want to thank you guys for having me. I want to thank everybody who tweets at me and sends me love on Instagram, and I want to thank Hot Toys too. But mostly the two of you, thank you very much, and I've really enjoyed the
Why
fans
don't we
and-
have Hot Toys as a sponsor of this
Yeah.
show?
I know
Hot
we
Toys,
should.
I don't know why you're not sending us stuff that we could put on this beautifully blank
should.
table
Can you
right
think,
here.
imagine Hot Toys stuff all over this desk.
You got a Hulkbuster. You got maybe like 4 different versions of Black
God,
Widow.
I would love
I
to.
mean,
They should send us actually 3 Hulkbusters.
yeah,
Is what they should do.
They'd probably send us 3, and the 4th one just so we could put it on fire.
Put it on
No,
fire.
or give it away as a gift for one of you weird sweaties. Anyway, I'm Jon Schnepp. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram just at Jon Schnepp. You can find my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, a documentary that's available at tdoslwh.com. Buy it as a gift for the holidays. Support independent film. And I'll see you guys next year. Thanks again for rocking and watching Collider's Heroes.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.